All right, so welcome to week 3 of the CAD 3D printing course. As you know, you can't hear me. Can everyone else hear me? Okay. Fernando, you might want to check your audio settings. All right, so anyways, I guess we can just hop right into it today. I have 3 demos for you. I mean 2 demos, sorry, along with homework, an extra credit opportunity, and just a slight introduction to your final project. So yeah, today we're going to be using the Canvas tool and some of the other functions and tools that we've used before. And then we're also going to dive into assemblies, which is pretty cool. But yeah, for the first assignment today, we're just going to be modeling just kind of like a really quick replica of the engineering fountain, just to show you a couple new tools here. So now if you want, you can go into the Discord under resources, and you see attached, I have a very starry photo of the engineering fountain. And then we're gonna actually use that in Fusion today. So now that I hope that you've downloaded everything, you're gonna open up Fusion. And so a lot of the times what we've been doing is we've been starting with sketches and all this fun stuff. But sometimes you wanna take something that you maybe took a photo of, or you found a photo online, or just some sort of baseline. You might have something that you want to model your design off of, and you might want to bring that into your little design here. And we can do that with canvases. So we're going to insert that photo that from the Discord, and we're going to use that to model our engineering fountain, right? So, up here in this bar, we have the sketch tool that we use a lot, extrusion, all that fun stuff. But over here, if you go farther right, there's an insert canvas tool. So if you want, you can go insert canvas, and you see when you hover over it, you see there's a little design of a car from Fusion on the right, but then you also see that little drawing on the left. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna insert a new canvas. Now it's gonna ask you, where do you wanna get that file from? If you downloaded it, you can get it from your computer. I have to go to my desktop here. And here I have the engineering fountain, right? The photo. Did not do it. It's nice. Okay, so once you select the photo, right, you want to choose a plane to model it from, right? So in this case, I'm just going to choose the YZ plane right here. And you see this is pretty small, so I'm just going to scale it up maybe 50 times. It's going to stretch it. Oh, that's very nice. But now you should have the photo. And again, my mouse is broken. This is great. And then also automatically it should set your canvas opacity to 50%. And that just makes it a little bit see-through and makes it a little bit easier to kind of design. But it's up to you. I like it at 50, but if you want something else, then that's okay. Yeah. Oh, that did not work. Okay, I'm gonna try that again. I only scaled one axis. All right, so insert canvas again. Choose the photo. And then you choose the plane that starts on. Scale it up to whatever you desire. In this case, I'm just setting the scale to 50 because I want it nice and big. But there we go. So now we have a nice idea of what the engineering fountain would look like, right? And this is a nice side profile, so we don't need to worry about it being weirdly 3D when we start drawing. So now you see it doesn't have any depth to it, it's just a photo, but now we can build off of it. So as we normally do, we're going to create another sketch and we're going to start on the same plane. So in this case, I chose the YZ plane over here. So I'm going to select that. And then now we can start, tracing the engineering fountain. And what we're going to do is we're only going to trace one piece of it, and then we're going to duplicate it later. So, start with the line tool. And because we're eyeballing this, you can just kind of zoom in and, draw lines. I'm just going to stop maybe about here, go across about here. And again, this is just being free-handed, so we don't have to worry about it too much. Just it's gonna be blue in general. We don't really want this, but in this case, it's okay because we're just kind of learning this tool. But as you can see here, there's a little curve, and this curve, normally you would think, oh yeah, I want to make an arc, right? And for most cases, that's probably going to be totally fine. But in this case, the slope of this arc is actually not constant, because if you didn't know, the engineering fountain, this little curve here is actually modeled off I think the e to the x function. So it's not quite a constant slope, and the arc tool won't really work for this. So there's actually another tool that we can use, and it's called a fit point spline. So you can see it here, it's next to the circle tool. And basically what it does is you would choose what do you press on the mouse to use free orbit? Oh, to spin it around. So for me, it's middle button, but I actually changed it because yeah, so SolidWorks is the middle button. You can change it. Let me see. So I think the standard for Fusion is you hold Shift and then you press the middle button. But for me, it's just the middle button because I changed it. But yeah, you can change it. Sorry, I'm just reading the chat. I hope that makes sense. Yeah. Okay, yeah, it's just Shift middle. But yeah, you can change it. It's like go under your profile and stuff. I can show you later. But anyways, the fit point spline. So basically what it does is you can choose multiple points along a curve, and then Fusion will automatically generate a smooth line in between all the curves, right? So let's say like, oh, like it's gonna start here and then here and then there. Oh wait, it didn't work. There it goes. So you see I selected like a point, and then once I select a third point, it's starting to create a curve between all the points. So, you know, like you could do that and then it will create a curve like that. So that's what we want to do. But we're going to do it for here, right? So what you should be able to do is you just click on this after selecting the fit point spline, you click on this point here, and then you should be able to just click all the way down. And you see the more points I add, the closer it follows that curve, right? So I'm going to zoom in a bit more. And then I'm going to end it here. And you can see it'll see if it wants you to continue. But there's this little check mark here. And when you want it to end, you just click it. And then it creates your spline, right? And now you see it pretty well. It did a pretty good job. It's pretty close. In this case, it's close enough for us. But you see it creates a nice smooth line to connect all the points. So that's what you want. So once you have that, you know, you can do it again over here. All right, just kind of doing that. And I don't know, let's say we can also use constraints here just to make it nice and even. Like I want this to be perpendicular. I want this to be perpendicular. These should be perpendicular if they're not already. And then these should be on the same line. So I'm going to set them to be collinear. But yeah, I was just using constraints just to make it a little bit cleaner. But you see there's this curve here. So I'm going to use the fixed point spline again. I'm going to click down this arc. Maybe I'm going to stop about here. Merge these 2 points. So coincident. Yeah, there you go. But yeah, now we have this nice curve. If you want, you can even adjust it slightly by dragging these points. Like maybe I'll make this slightly lower. And you see it's not perfect, but it gives you, you know, an idea of the engineering value. Does that make sense? I'm gonna assume since there's no questions, it's all making sense to all of you. But yeah, so this is nice. If you want, you can hide the canvas now. And you see you have this nice sketch here. All these are closed, so there's no open holes because it's highlighted blue. So that's good. So what we can do is we can finish the sketch and then we're going to extrude it. So we're going to use the extrude function over here. And then you're going to select these two. And let's just say like 5, maybe 10. Okay, so we have this, right? I haven't selected to extrude yet because I want to make some changes. But what you can see is the origin's right here, but the fountain, right? These pieces are extruding from the plane, right? So it's not symmetrical, and we're gonna need it to be symmetrical later. Get rid of the green lines. Okay, one second. Let's see. Green lines. I'm guessing. Are you talking about these green lines? I don't know. I don't think you need to worry about them. I just moved the points a little bit, but that's just kind of mostly there for Fusion to just kind of show you where the spline is going. Oh, you can manipulate the spline with it, but I think if you click away, then it just kind of goes away. Yeah. Hiding the canvas. Okay, so if you see here on the top left, there's a bunch of little folders and drop downs of the different things. There's a canvas folder and there's the little eyeball, and you can show it and hide it. Does that make sense? Awesome. Okay, so we have the finished sketch. Again, we're going to go in and extrude it. I'm going to set it to 20 millimeters. But you see, the plane is on this blue line, right? And you see, I guess I can click top. You can see that the body is just kind of extruding straight from the blue line. But because we're going to be rotating it later, we don't want that. So instead of it being one side, so if you see here in this box, it gives you all the different variables for the extrusion. You can see one of them is the direction, and it says one side. We want to change this to symmetric, right? And what it will do is it will kind of mirror it and extrude it from both ways, right? And now you see it's symmetric over the axis or over the plane that we modeled it on. So when we kind of copy it around the circle later, it'll be nice and even. So this looks good to me. I'm just gonna press OK. And now we have like 1/4 of the engineering found, which is good. But also, if we show the canvas again, you see the engineering found has these little details, and just because we want to be fancy, let's try to get some of that detail into our model, right? So what we can do is we can make another sketch, right? So here, top left. In this case, I'm gonna select this face here. And then we're just gonna start drawing the details into our model. So maybe if we want, we can increase the opacity. So I'm gonna change it to 100 here. So if you right-click it, right-click the canvas and click Edit Canvas, you can increase it so you can see it better. But you can see this little faint little line that kind of runs up the fountain. So why don't we try to draw that here, right? So I'm going to use the fixed point spline again. I'm just going to run up this little curve. And feel free to move around a lot when you're making these things. It makes your life a lot easier. Oops, I ended the spline. Okay, so now we have like this little spline. You need to make sure you redraw these lines, or what you can do is you can where's the button? Oh yeah, you can project it. Forget where the project button is. Is it over here? Oh yeah, here it is. So you can project these lines, right, from last week. Press OK. Now it'll create those lines. I'm gonna hide the canvas. So it created those projected lines, and I'm pretty sure you can just trim them to fit your needs. I think. No, not trim the projected lines. Oh, that's annoying. Okay. So I'm just gonna draw a line over this projected line. Guys. Okay. I think that's closed. It should be closed. Is it? Okay, cool. Yeah. All right, so we made that one. Now let's create the next one. So again, I'm gonna, oh, I have to go back into the sketch. There you go. Can make another line here. Or I can project it, right? And then create spline. And I'll just draw a straight line out. All right. So now you should be able to extrude these. So in this case, I want this to go backwards into the model to cut it out. So as you can see here, it's cutting into the model, and you see it, whoa, it automatically set it to cut. So I'm gonna do maybe -5. And there's our little cutout. So this is what we want, but we also want to mirror it onto this side, right? So what you can do, you can go back into the sketch over here and click extrude again. And instead of starting on the plane that we sketched it on, we can change it. So we can change it to object, click it here. I believe it should work. Select the profiles. And now it should be cutting in to this object. So again, you want to make sure you select your two profiles, which is the same ones. And then instead of starting on the profile plane, we're going to select object because that's where we want to start it from. And then we click this side. We specify the distance, and then we want it to be a cut again. So if you press OK, now we have the whole thing cut out on both sides, which is good. And again, there's other ways to do it. You could also just model one side, and instead of extruding it symmetrically, you can just extrude it on one way, and then you can mirror it with the mirror tool over here. So that works too. But I'm just showing you this way just so you know the different ways of doing it. You know, there's a different tool, but it gives you the same result. All right. So is everyone at this point, or is do some people need a little bit of help with this? Everyone's good? Okay. Okay, so honestly, I probably wouldn't model it this way, but I'm just teaching it this way just to show that there's different ways of doing it. I would honestly probably do the mirror thing that I was just talking about. So I'd say this isn't my preferred way, but it is a fairly decent way. So yeah. Let's see. Yeah, I think probably the best practice way would be to mirror it. Because you would just have two and a mirror. It's the same number of steps, but that the mirroring is a little bit more clear in my head. But again, CADing, you know, it just kind of depends on your CADing style, and as long as it works, it works. How did I select one part of the face that I traced? Are you talking about for extrusions, or are you talking about for the sketch when I projected the line? The extrusion. Okay. So when you go under the extrusion, after your sketch, you want to make sure you select the profiles, right? So right here, right under the type, there's the profile selection, and you want to make sure you click on the two closed faces or closed bodies that you drew, like here. Does that make sense? Might be easier to visualize on this one. Yeah, because you can see the sketch right here. Does that make sense? Yeah. But for Matthew, yeah, I guess I can show you right now what I would probably do, the mirror thing. So this is a good example of showing you that there's different ways of doing it. So instead of symmetric, you can do one side like you normally do. And then once you like model this, probably, yeah, Fernando, probably. You want to make sure that you're not just drawing the spline. You also want to make sure you're drawing those vertical lines to close it out. And if you want to make sure that it's not, or make sure it's closed, you can also hide like the canvas and the body to see if the sketch has like closed blue lines, right? So if I hide the body, you can see these lines are blue and they're closed. So that's what you want to see. Oh shoot, I hit the body. Okay, yeah. So how I would do it, dude, I need to get a new mouse. This middle button's like broken. Yeah, so I would make this, and because I know I'm gonna copy it onto the other side, you can just model it once, and then you can mirror it. This. So you select the objects, and then you select the plane, and then you just press mirror, and then it just does everything for you, which is really nice. So yeah, that's probably how I would do it. But yeah, the main thing about this was kind of showing you like the symmetrical extrusion and like the offsetted planes and all that stuff. Did you figure it out, Fernando? Okay. And then I think it was Sydney is still catching up. Okay, nice. So we'll give the rest of you maybe a couple minutes. We're looking pretty good on time for now. So yeah, so I can. The purple lines and circles. Are you talking about the projected curves that I made? These guys? Yeah, so I just decided to project the curves. You don't have to for this, but I just decided to. Construction, yeah. Basically the reason why I did that is I just wanted to copy the geometry from the existing one. So if you go under create and project, you can like select the lines. And then that should close your spline over here, if that makes sense. Awesome. Did it? I hope it closed your splines. I'm guessing it did because Also, feel free to add to the playlist. It's only 28 songs. So if you want to make it longer, go for it. And only I think a couple people have added, which is fun. But if you're bored and you want to hear some of your music, then yeah, go for it. I guess. Okay, I'm just gonna guess that you're looking pretty good, Fernando. So I'm gonna move on. But yeah, so now that we have this nice quarter of an engineering fountain, we can kind of duplicate it, right? So again, Fusion 360 is a very powerful tool. And if you know all the functions, you can use them to your advantage. So you have to do less work. And also, so it's a lot easier to make changes later, right? So once we duplicate these and I edit the original one, it will make the same change to all the other three, right? So that's, in my opinion, that's good design because you only need to change, one thing and then everything else kind of goes along with it. And yeah, that's usually ideal. But anyways, so now what we're gonna do is right next to the mirror tool that I actually just showed you, you can use the pattern tool. And in this case, because we want it to be kind of in a round, kind of go around the origin, we're going to use the circular pattern tool. But you can see there's a bunch of different pattern tools. So like rectangular pattern is good if you just want to make a bunch of the same thing kind of in like a block, which is kind of cool. But yeah, today we're going to use the circular pattern, right? So again, it'll ask you over here to select certain things. So you want to select the objects. So again, we're going to select these two over here. And then the axis of rotation. So this is a lot like the gear thing that we did last week, but in this case, it's 3D. So I believe you can select, yeah, you have to select a line. So in this case, I'm just going to select the line that comes off the Y from the origin. All right, and then now it'll start giving you a preview. So now you have a little triple one, which is not quite the engineering fountain, but you can tell it how many you want, right? So in this case, we want 4. And you see here, everything is nice and even, and it's because our model is symmetric along the axis of rotation, right? So that's what we want to see. These are nice and, everything lines up as it should instead of it all being kind of offset. Too many times in the cube view. I can't stop rotating. That's a new one. Maybe you clicked on the orbit tool on accident and it's just rotating forever. Maybe down here. I think if you just press it, then yeah, you still have the regular cursor. Is it just like spinning by itself? Like you're not moving?
No, it's like
Or is it spinning whenever you move your mouse?
yeah, whenever I move the mouse, it just spins. And I usually just click escape and stop
Is it not?
whatever it's doing.
Yeah, is it not working?
No, or I double click, but it's not doing anything.
Okay, I know sometimes you have to like spam the escape button for it to register. You could also just try saving your work and relaunching Fusion because sometimes it gets like a bit buggy. I've actually never really heard of that before. That's kind of interesting. There's
Okay, I'll
always,
save it and quit it.
yeah. Okay, so yeah, circular pattern, you choose your two objects, choose the axis of rotation, in this case, the y-axis, but if we changed it, right, then it would be a bit corrupted like this one, or we don't want that, or this one's also kind of weird, right? So it's very important you select the right one. Yeah, we can specify the quantity. And then it'll automatically distribute it along like 360 degrees. It'll like automatically space it evenly because you select it as full. But if you wanted it to be like partial, you can like set the angle. So what if it was like 90 or whatever, then it would make 4 in the space given. But full is just 360 and it'll just kind of do it automatically. You'll probably be using full most of the time, but it's good to know that you can specify. But yeah, so now we like this preview, we can select OK. And now we have a good basic model of the engineering fountain, right? And I think the last thing that we want to do here is make a base for it. So, we're just going to draw a quick circle. So we're going to make a sketch. I'm just going to select any of these faces because they're all kind of on the same one. We're going to draw a circle. Okay, no worries. See you later. Someone has to leave early. Okay. So I'm just going to draw 2 circles. So let's do, I don't know, 750, because let's do, again, it doesn't really matter that much because this one is just kind of being free-handed. But when you're CADing mechanical parts, you want to specify dimensions and make it nice and defined. Yeah, now that we have this, we can extrude, oops, make a sketch. You can extrude the circle, and there's going to be a little hole in the center. So let's go like 5. And now we have a nice base. You can build off of this if you like. A lot of, oh, that's strange. Oh, wait, we need to specify it. And you want that profile too. So make sure you select the circle and the little square that you drew it on. There we go. I know some students in the past have like created those little bench things that kind of surround the fountain. If you would like to do that, by all means, go ahead. But yeah, this is our engineering fountain assignment. Does that make sense to everyone? Everyone caught up? I can give you guys a few minutes if you want. Okay, I'll give you guys till 3:40 my time. Yeah. I guess everyone is okay, so I guess I'll just move on. We'll have more time to, we'll have more free time later because this next assignment is a little bit more difficult. All right. So now that we're done with the engineering foundry, I'm going to show you something a little bit more different in Fusion. But for the most part, we've been designing like single parts, right? So like for your chair homework, that's just one piece. I mean, the engineering fountain is technically, or I guess it is one piece now with the base. But for the most part, you've just been creating like one part. But for a lot of things in real life, you need more than one part working together, right? So like, for a water bottle, you have the bottle part, but you also have the cap. And then for more complex things like computers and all that stuff, you're gonna have hundreds and maybe even thousands of parts. And then when you're, designing all these things, you want to see how well they fit together. And for that, we have assemblies. So today, we're just going to be making a more basic assembly, right? We're going to be making a fun little Lego car. But these assemblies can get very complex if you want it to. But yeah, now we're going to make a Lego car. So if you go into the resources tab on the Discord, underneath the photo, there should be a zip file called assignment 8, like Lego car. You can go ahead and download that. Can't see. So once you download the zip file, you're going to want to extract it. So in this case, I'm running Windows, so I just right click and click extract all. And then, there's a bunch of Fusion parts for us. So we're going to go into Fusion 360. And we're just going to start a new design real quick. But we'll get back to that later. In the top left, right above design, you can see the little 9 squares for the data panel. So what we're gonna do today is we're gonna show the data panel. And then if you've been saving all your assignments, they're probably gonna pop up here. But now we're gonna make a new folder just to make it nice and organized. A new folder, call it this is just what I'm gonna call it. You guys can call it whatever you like. Then you want to upload all these parts. So for you, for other designs, you may be making all these parts yourself. But in this case, we're just selecting files that were already made. Right, so you want to go in your downloads folder or wherever you saved the parts, and you just want to select all of them. Click open. And then I'm going to click upload. Right. So now it's going to be uploading all of these to Fusion 360 so we can use them. And you can see over here on the left, there's a nice little preview of all the parts, right? So now that we have all the parts that we want, we can start assembling it in Fusion 360, right? So we're going to build our little Lego car virtually before we do it in real life. And this is really useful for when you make your own things, because you can catch mistakes before you make it in person, right? So like, let's say you make a part and you didn't quite measure it right, so maybe the part is too short, or even when you're assembling it in the assembly, you can look at it and you can be like, oh, well, for this to actually go together in real life, this part is going to have to phase through the other part, and that's just not going to work in real life, right? So assemblies are a good way of kind of figuring things out before you completely finalize it and make it. So yeah, I don't know if that makes sense, but yeah. So yeah, you always want to start out with a nice base piece for your assemblies. So you're gonna choose one part that's not gonna move, and then you can place all the other parts relative to that one. And for this model, again, you can choose technically any part that you want. But for me, I think the best piece is just going to be the longest piece that kind of acts as, I guess, the floor of this little car. So in this case, it's the 2x6 little plate. And what you can do to put it in, you first need to save your design. So this is a little bit different from what we've been doing before because we're saving it at the end. But for this one, you have to save it at the beginning, or else it won't let you. So I'm just going to call it Lego Car SM, which is just short for assembly. And once it names itself, you can start placing things, right? So I'm going to choose this 2x6 plate over here in the data panel. You can drag it in. And then it'll create the part, right? This part drops into your design. And it just kind of puts it close to the origin to just to start. I think that's fine. So I'm just going to say, okay. And now we have this little Lego plate. Yay. But right now, it's not fixed in space, right? So you can move it around if you want by clicking right click and move. Eve. It's one of these. Sad. Oh, there it goes. Yeah. So you can move this piece around, right? And that's not exactly ideal for, constraining all your things because it'll just kind of float around. So what you want to do for your first part, you can right click it and you see there's this little ground on the top of the drop down. You want to ground your first part, right? And grounding it just means that you won't be able to move it, right? So you see the move, the move feature just straight up is gone, right? So that's good because now we won't be able to move this and we can add joints and stuff to build our Lego car, right? So let's say the next piece I want to do is this little, this little control panel over here, right? So I go into Fusion. This apparently it's called the roof. I can find the roof here and I can drag it in. Computer will think for a little bit. It'll create the part, and you can see it's just kind of like phasing through. Like it's just kind of like literally, it's literally in the other piece, right? That's not really what we want. We're gonna move it. I'm just gonna move it up for now, but now it's floating, right? So that's not really ideal. And we want these pieces to be connected. So to connect your parts, if you've had it before, a lot of people might be familiar with like mates from SolidWorks. But Fusion has the joint tool. It's a little bit different, but it basically does the same thing. So under here, there's this little assemble drop down, and there's the joint tool, and it'll allow you to connect your parts in various ways. You select the joint tool, and a really good place to start here is selecting corners, right? So here, I'm going to choose this corner and this corner, and you see the piece will kind of fly into place, right? And in this case, we don't want this to move, right? So it shows it as slider, but for us, I want it to be rigid, right? And it'll do like this fun animation just to kind of show you, preview it again. It'll like shake around. It'll be like, yeah, it's not going anywhere, right? So that just kind of lets you know, I want this to be rigid. And we just selected these two corners. And then you just select OK. And now these 2 points, or these 2 pieces, are connected, right? So if I try to move this, it just won't let me anymore. Because if I drag it, right, the thing will drag, but the part won't move. And that's because it's joined with the base plate. And it's also why it's important that you ground your first piece so you don't just start dragging your model all over your workspace. But yeah, it also works with round things, right? So for the wheels, I'm going to put this little axle in first, right? So I'm going to put it down a little bit. And again, I'm going to join it just like we did with this top piece. So I'm going to choose this little corner here, this corner here, fly up. Check the motion, it's nice and rigid, so it's not going to go anywhere. Select OK. Now these 3 pieces are connected, but we want to add the wheels. So what we can do here, wheels up here on the top, and drag it in. it out a little bit. Press OK. You see, I want this to be on the outside. We can join them together. So in this case, instead of selecting a corner, the circle doesn't really have a corner. I'm going to select this edge, the outer edge of the circle. And I want to join it with this inner edge right here on the little axle, right? And it'll spin into place. But in this case, we don't want it to be rigid, right? A wheel should be able to spin, and we can specify that. So instead of rigid, we can change it to revolve, right? And then it'll start to animate itself just to show you, again, that it's not rigid, right? So the wheels here in the assembly, the wheel is spinning, right? So that's good. We want it to spin. We specified the type of joint, and we can press OK. So now this wheel can spin if we want it to, right? So I can move it, and there's this little rotation selector, and I can spin the wheel, right? This is good. But yeah, that's basically how assemblies work in Fusion. And you can just continue to do that with all these parts until you get the Lego car, right? Does that make sense to everyone? Now, I'll give you some time to go through these assemblies. All right. So I'm just gonna start playing some music. And then yeah, maybe could give you everyone a good 10 minutes or so to kind of make this. Okay, grounding the first piece. So over here in this little drop down on the top, you can see all the different pieces that I put in here. You can see the little pin is on the first one. It's because it's joined. I mean grounded. But if you right click the model or the model's name on the top left, it will give you the ground selection, right? So over here, I'm not clicking on the part here. I'm clicking over here. And then it should say ground. And then you want to select that. Oh, another thing to point out, you can also make sub-assemblies, right? So because we're making 4 wheels and tires, what we can do is make separate design, right? We can make them, or I mean, we can join them together, and then put those sub-assemblies into our design. So for a lot of things, you might like need an engine. You might have like an engine for a car, and then it might be a separate assembly. And by using, you can have assemblies and assemblies, is basically what I'm saying. Also, my laptop's gonna die, so I have to go and get my charger. I'll be right back. All right. It is 4:20 where I am, which means we only have about 10 more minutes of class. So I wanted to just kind of go over the homework, um, your final project, and an extra credit opportunity for those who would like to try it. But yeah, basically that was the Lego car. Hopefully, I mean, I see some people have some technical issues. I can help sort through that, but hopefully you all understood what I did there. Because your homework is to make your own Lego model, right? So I gave you a couple of pieces, but this one will ask you to use more Lego bricks, right? So these include at least 25 bricks. It shouldn't be too hard. I mean, most of the Lego sets that you would build in real life have at least 100. So yeah, 25 shouldn't be too bad. Make sure you know add a nice color to them, make it fun. Make sure you use joints to constrain your assembly. So I provided a couple Lego parts for you, but you know, I'm sure some of you might want to use some of the different Lego parts out there. And I really encourage you to look online. There's a bunch of free CAD repositories, and a lot of them have Lego bricks modeled for you already. So there's websites like GrabCAD or 3D Content Central or Trace Parts, and you know they all have something for you, and you know it kind of is a resource for you for this class. But I just mainly want to show you that it's there for other things too. So we can go take a look at it right now. GrabCAD is one of my favorite repositories. What file extensions are compatible with Fusion? Well, Fusion can use like step files. Of course, they can use Fusion files. I believe you can even open up SolidWorks stuff too. So Fusion is very flexible. But yeah, so you see, if you go into the GrabCAD library, you can already see there's a bunch of different models that people have already made. Some of them are very, very intricate, like someone made it's like an electric tricycle, which is pretty cool, or like this RC car, or some people even just model other things for fun, like this Jeep over here or this boat. You can find a bunch of things, and the search bar, you type in Lego, sure you can find something. Yeah, I mean, here's a piece that we already have. But you can see over here, there's a bunch of Lego pieces. You know, there's multiple pages, there's Lego people, all that fun stuff. But yeah, there's a bunch of stuff on here. Not just Legos. GrabCAD's a really nice place to go. Let's say you're modeling something and it has a standard like skateboard bearing, right? So that's a 608 bearing, right? And instead of having to model the bearing yourself, you can go on GrabCAD and find bearings that someone else already modeled. So a lot of people can do some of the heavy lifting for you for a bunch of standardized parts. So it's really handy to come into these websites to get, you know, bolts or bearings, because you don't need to model a bearing because you already know what it is. And it'll just save you a lot of time. Yeah, it's just pretty cool. So part of the homework assignment for you is to kind of explore the different things out on the internet, because the internet is a very powerful resource, and you can use that to your advantage when you're CADing. So do check these websites out. I'm sure there's a bunch more out there. You can even look up like Lego brick 3D models, and I'm sure just by throwing it into Google or any other search engine, you'll find a bunch of other stuff too. Just, of course, be careful, don't download the virus. But in general, like websites like GrabCAD, and these other two websites are generally pretty safe. So, yeah, that's your homework assignment. As always, feel free to message the homework help chat in the Discord if you're having any problems. I'm happy to help. But yeah, there's also an extra credit opportunity for you this week, and it is creating the Amelia Earhart airplane. And the reason why this is extra credit is because it involves using the form tool, which is something we call surface modeling, right? So for what we've been doing, we've been, extruding a bunch of stuff, but this is a little bit different. You can kind of see, instead of like extruding things, you can like pull and push different faces, and it's very much almost like, it's more like art, it's like kind of like virtual clay, and you can kind of model your different parts. But yeah, this is your extra credit opportunity this week. Feel free to submit it. But if you don't, no worries. And I had another slide here. But I guess it's not here. But I also just wanted to go over your final project for this class, because we do have a final project, and it's basically just allowing you to be creative and create your own design, right? So the main thing is, I believe it's five unique tools. Let me double check. I'm pretty sure it's 5. Yeah, so 5 different design features, right? So it'd be like a sketch or a revolve or a fillet. Those are all different design features. And your goal is just to, come up with whatever you want. I'll just say, don't do the engineering fountain because you've already done that. So, I would just don't do any things that we've already made in class. But anything other than that is completely free range. I mean, I believe if you saw if you were here week 1, I showcased some of the older things, and people did cool stuff like the big drum at Purdue, or an R2D2. Some people made like bridges, but yeah, if you want to get a head start on that, definitely do that this week. But next week, we're going to be learning some other stuff, along with how to render models, which is also part of your final project. So if you have your final project done by week 4, you can pretty much render it and be pretty much done with the course if you would like. But yeah, that's basically just an overview of what your final project will be. I'll go into more detail next week. But for those who want to be proactive and maybe get ahead in this class, feel free to do that now or just whenever you like. But yeah, other than that, that's basically what it for the day. So thank you for coming, and for those who um, need help, I will stay a little bit after class to help you out. The guidelines for the final project, I can try to get some out maybe later this week, but it's very relaxed, just no engineering fountain and 5 different design features. That's basically what it is. So I'm just telling you the guidelines right now. If I can get it out on a piece of paper or like a PDF or something, I'll do that. But yeah, if I forget, that's basically the guidelines that I'm telling you right now. But yeah, thank you for coming this week. And feel free to stick around if you need help. Okay, nice. Ian got it. I need to stop the